Hello everybody. Who is potentially nobody? A bit of a rush this afternoon, so I don't even know if the lavalier mic is working or what, but I'm sure we'll find out by either someone saying, "I can't hear you properly," or someone going, "You're too loud!" Yeah, so welcome to the first live stream of the Fantasy Forge. So far, not a lot has happened, but since it's a live stream and no one's watching, who cares? But if you are watching this on archive, hi, thanks. Well worth watching, I'm hoping. Who knows? Today I'm going to be looking at like doing some buildings and stuff. So these are some of my buildings. Okay, so let me get some light. Yeah, there we go. It's about as good as I can get from where I am. Yeah, so these buildings are all made of XPS except for windows, which are all made of granny grating. And I think the studs on the metal work on the doors, they're just rhinestones. I showed that before. Got some little bits of copper wire that are stripped out when we had all our wiring redone. I just kept all the twin and earth cable. It's great for doing like little wet metalwork bits and stuff. So use those as door handles, just a pair of jewelry things, tweezers, pliers, jewelry pliers. Just make little jewelry loops, make great handles. And that bit's made of wood because it's like supposed to be where you can like hang a sign from. Just haven't made any of the signs yet, but yeah. So got a lot of people on Facebook today asking about how I did the roof. This is just all XPS foam. The top bit is like a thinner underfloor insulation that we get over here. This XPS is really dense but really flexible, so works quite well for like capping things. But yeah, other than that, this starts life as this sort of XPS. Now I don't know if you can tell, but there is a very slight texture to the surface, like really like narrow lines. I don't know if you can see that or not, but either way, it's a bit of a pain in the ass because like you could probably just about see, you see where the paint's like caught it, so it's a bit of a bugger for me. Obviously if I was doing stone texture it's not so obvious, but since I did the panels on here pretty much straight up, I decided to hide some of that with like a paste. So this is something I picked up from Lidl, but you can get this in like normal arts and crafts stores. Oh, I received a text message, sorry guys. Yeah, this is an acrylic effects paste, and basically it's like pumice mixed in with the like an acrylic medium, which is pretty much just like paint but without the pigment. Yeah, it's weird. It's kind of almost a crunchy toothpaste consistency. If you imagine someone to mix sand in with toothpaste, that's what this is like. I mixed it with a bit of white paint to do the sides and stuff. All this strip work here that is made to look like wood is all just, yet again, more thin strips of XPS. We've got the chunky corner bits. These are meant to represent timbers, so the whole point is you can get away with making the wall panels the same size as the base piece. So for instance, this one is meant to fit, it's a 6x6 tile. I mean, these are just some of the same sort of thing that Hanker and Furnell did. These are 2.5D tiles. So on one side I've got like just some big old tongue depressors that have been painted up to look kind of like woodwork. They've been set out to imply a grid, an inch by inch grid. Next time I do some, I probably won't bother with that because all our stuff is gridless, but it can help. The other side is just a quick stone effect that I did, but all of these tiles and stuff are designed to go square into the bottom of this. Yeah, so literally got 6 by 6 on here, which means that if you were doing it normally, you'd have to take into account the thickness of the foam you're cutting before you start doing all your wall panels. Now, if you're like me, I just can't be arsed with all that jazz. So for me, and for my style of construction, rather than sitting there going, how thick do I have to make the walls an extra bit long? No, stuff that. I take some of my thicker, like it's like an inch thick blue XPS I ordered online because you can't really get it that easily in the UK. And I cut it down into 1 centimetre cubes, and it fits quite nicely into the bottom, provides structure, and it also helps you keep your walls a nice simple, exactly the same size as your tile pieces, so it makes my life a little bit easier. They're designed modular, so the whole point is that you could take the roof off and then add on another layer. One thing I did was, these are actually just the proof of concept. So, I mean, other than like the look of them, which was a bit of a rush to be honest, because I had a game the next day. I was up to like 3 in the morning just building this stuff. This helped me learn a lot about the system that I was thinking of. But, and there's this one, which is the stone built shop. Okay, same thing, door all works. I mean, I basically, on the bottom here, you can see I used a little bit of wood, like you know, you get like the coffee stirrers. I just used a little bit of that, drilled a tiny hole for the pin vise, and then cut it to size, stuck it in, the old fashioned cocktail stick trick, through the door, pinned it into the top, put a bit of wood on the bottom, glued it in, and the door works just fine, and it's all flush. It's pretty strong, and I wouldn't bang it around too much, but that's miniatures, isn't it? But yeah, so very, very quick stone effect on this. When you look close, it's actually pretty shoddy, but it's all about the illusion. I think the paint job, like the dirt rising up from the bottom, it kind of tries to sell the idea that this is actually a building rather than just some XPS. But same thing again, corner posts, keeping your sides straight, so you just plan your inches out and then stick these on when you're putting it together. I did get a comment then, and I have no idea where it's gone. Gordon Bennett. I'll have to see if I can find that again in a minute. Yeah, the roof is the underfloor. Yeah, all my buildings are playable. The idea is that when they're sat out on the table, you can have them set up as a small selection of shops and buildings. And then should the players want to go into one, you can either just remove the roof and leave the walls, or if it's like getting in the way of play, you can literally take the whole shop straight off the playing board, and you've still got these sat down. Now this one, as you probably noticed, is a little bit bigger than the 6 by 6 squares that I've done. That was on purpose because I've also got like other sizes. So I mean, literally just that together and you've got a wider shot. It doesn't look quite so seamless, but it works. I mean, the whole point of this live stream is actually show you some of the techniques that I use putting it together and probably answer some questions. Yeah, even for the scale being quite small. Yeah, so the whole point of these is that they are geared to stand up with a regular size 28mm miniature. Okay, so 28-30mm miniature. This is one of the models my friend has been working on. He's left it here for painting. So theoretically, most of these are going to be 1.5 inch tall maximum. So realistically, the door has to be big enough to incorporate the character. The building has to be a realistic size. You know, it's just, it speaks for itself. The door's all open, so I mean, it just, if you're going to have openable doors, you'd want the characters to at least look like they're going to fit through it. I mean, you don't go, I'm just going to put them through the door. You know, you ain't got time for that, but you want it to at least be tangible. I mean, I'll move the camera in a minute and show you it's set up, but before I get onto that, I want to just say the reason that I've got the two different styles, the reason I've primarily gone for the post and pan style construction is because, like, the medieval era, it was quite common. But also you'd find a lot of buildings that have the stone base and then would have the second floor post and pan style timber building that would be buttressed out. Gives it that really iconic look. I mean, everyone knows it. I mean, if you have never seen any real life examples of that, say if you live in the States or what have you, pull up some pictures of the Shambles in York. It's actually a really, really bustling student town or student city. So down that alleyway, it's all like little sandwich shops and stuff. It's absolute chaos at lunchtime, but it's crammed full of people from all over the world just queuing up for sandwiches and people trying to take photos. It's nonsense. It's great, but to get a good picture of it, you're better off just looking on Google, because there are some really nice ones of it, and get a real sense of how the sort of buttressed buildings sort of come out, and you can't really see where the sky is from the other end, because it's just like one building here, and it's like the front's here, and the second story goes here, and then the next one in front of it's like here. It's brilliant. But yeah, it really just made the most of the space that they had and allowed people to travel underneath. But yeah, it's great to see the actually living, breathing place. My idea is that there's going to be a few different size buildings, but not tons of different size buildings. Most of them are going to be sort of a stone bottom about this big, and then the upper floor will be about 1 inch bigger, allowing you to get that sort of buttressed look, but without really overcrowding the game table. So, I mean, I've been milling out some, I think these were, what size were these? These were 4x4 squares, because I'm planning to do a slightly different size. I wanted to go from like 6x6 to an 8x8 for the next story up, but I also wanted to have these anyway as like dual-sided pieces. So the whole point is, one side will still be wood style, one side will still be stone style, but they'll be in increments of like 4. So these bits will be useful for like making a dungeon, etc. But there'll also be ones that are like 8x8, allowing me to have that second story of like building without having to worry too much about it being too much bigger. These bits, I was thinking about having them so that I could like integrate them together with like some popsicle sticks or something like that, but I just, it sounds like a bit of a pain right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up my hot wire table in just a second, mill out an 8x8 piece, and then I'm going to start working on some walls. So I need to get a bit more XPS from somewhere, wherever I've put it, and start milling it. So usually I go 3 inches high is my standard wall height. That means that all the buildings are going to work together. So yeah, sorry there's like no music or anything, but I don't want to get absolutely slapped with the like copyright infringement nonsense. Welcome to my craft world. It's not so much of a craft world, but more of a small desk with some garbage. Right. Empty spray cans are not your friend. Go in the bin. So, crikey, I might have to change the angle of this thing. Bear with me a second. I'm really bad at this. Let me set up a tripod so I can film this business. If you don't like my singing, that's tough potatoes because I tend to. Got charger cables and all sorts of things attached over here to keep this show on the road because I don't want to run out of power whilst trying to film, because that would be dire. Sorry about the shot of my ear there. How is it? Was it all right for you? Where are my buttons? Because craft is chaos. Yeah. You know what they say about a tidy mind and a tidy desk? That creativity doesn't always flow from tidiness, unfortunately. So, I think that's probably the best angle I'm going to get right now. So what you're looking at now is one of my many handmade bits of equipment. This is my hot wire jig. It's pretty rudimentary, but I got the freehand hot wire cutter from my girlfriend's mum for my birthday a couple of years ago. And it's, you know, it's great if you want to freehand massive stuff, but when it comes to doing like solid stuff, walls, etc., you really can't just freehand that stuff. And I wasn't going to go and buy a whole Proxon because I don't have the dosh for that kind of thing. So I thought, bugger it. I'm resourceful, man. Childling in big form, but you know, so I just cut a chunk out of a massive piece of inch thick MDF, put a grid on it, made sure it was nice and straight, and cobbled this thing together. I mean, look at this, right? Look, this is my pièce de résistance. Check out that, like, super glue and screws holding this thing together. It's just nonsense. So there we go there. So what I've done there is I've set it up so it's at the 8-inch mark. So I should be able to just mill this straight down. Just going to try and get some more light on the subject. There we go. Oh, bolted it up a little bit, but never mind. I'll cut it off the other end. But yeah, so I mean, realistically, if you don't have a hot wire cutter, you can use just like a good quality craft knife. Good metal ruler is a must-have. But yeah, I tend to hold on to all my cuts, all my offcuts, all my bits and pieces, because you never know when you're going to need them. And that's why my room is such chaos. This might not be the fastest hot wire table in the world, but it gets there eventually. Now these bits, right, as you can see, they're just a little bit narrower than its own thickness. So what I'll do is I'll hold on to that, and I'll probably use that as like buttressing later on. So what I'm going to do is go back the other way, get my 8x8. Now I know a lot of people are funny about the fumes that come off this thing, but I mean, I don't think, like, if you've got a window open, it's not a massive problem. I've recently got some Gorilla Glue, try it out for like some of my bigger projects, but for all my XPS work I tend to use a dual temp hot glue gun. It's never let me down. Just sometimes you need to remember to turn it from hot to cool, because you can melt some of your projects. So this is my 8" by 8" piece. Okay, so what I'm going to do is hold still. I'm going to pick you up. Don't worry, I've got you. I've got you in my hands. And I drop the mic. Not that I even know if the mic's working yet. Oh. Let's unplug that. So, oh yeah, can you see the beast yawning over there? Yeah, the idea of this is, let me just switch the camera to front facing if I can get my finger in there. There we go. So let's get some light on the situation. So we've got a 8 by 8 piece of styrene, and we've got our buildings. Now this one being 6 by 6. Okay, so all these pieces are pretty rugged. So the whole point is that sits on top of there. Does help if you line it up a little bit. Hello. I can't actually pronounce your name because I didn't have time to read it and the notification has popped away, but was it Laverendit's Lair or something? Sorry about the pronunciation, but happy to have you here. I'll drop the mic again. So I was just saying about how these pieces are set up. So I've got my double-sided dungeon tile in there, and that's a 6 by 6 on a grid, and all comes away nice and easy. And the roof slots on. The name is a mouthful. Landvaters. Is that even close? It's probably not. That's probably massively insulting. But it's great to have you here. So let me just bring the light down onto the light source. So like I was saying, these are designed to be playable. So standard characters right there. When you put them up, they kind of they match the scale. It all works. God, I don't know what's going on with the colour at the moment. It's all over the place. But yeah, so the doors all open. You know, so it's if you've got a variety of races, it's still feasible, even if you've got like Dragonborns and stuff. But yeah, so the roof comes off, so the inside you can have a playable surface. I mean, I don't know where all my bits and pieces are, but I mean, I had these on the table at my last game. There's like a bar and a shop, so I had like just a standard bar piece, works well as a counter, had that in there. But at some point we wanted to hello there, Silas Hand, good to see you there for this live stream. It's a bit chaotic, so bear with me. But yeah, so these are designed to, like, they can come right away. If, for instance, all my player characters, cause I've got a large group of like 5 people, they're all going to get in that shop at once. It just got a bit much at one point, so I just took the walls away, and it worked really well. And the beauty of this is that the other side is stone. You can see a couple of bits of chips and stuff where I don't pack everything away properly, and we have some very vigorous hands at the table. So that bit goes over the top. Okay, changes that up, and then what I'm planning to do is have some signs that go on this bit, and they will just slide straight off, slide straight on. I was actually doing this a few weeks ago, and literally the day that I was making these and planning out my signs, I was going to do a video, and V released a video about doing signs. I was like, that's a bit Twilight Zone for me. I was like, so I just kind of put that one on hold. It freaked me out. I didn't want to look like I was trying to horn in on her styles. You know, she's a creative lady, and I thought, you know, if I do a shop sign video straight afterwards, I'd just look like a bit of a knob. But anyway, I digress. 6 by 6 grid in the bottom. This is an 8 by 8. And the idea is that your next story will sit on here nicely. Now, because this is going to be the upper story, I know you're going to be saying, well, if you're going with the same construction style and you've got, you know, your 6 inches by 6 inches in this case, or for the top piece would be 8 inches by 8 inches, and you're going to have your corner pieces stuck on because you're lazy and you can't do the maths, how is it going to stand up? It's just going to slot straight over. I say to you, what I'm going to do is set these bits up so that they just are big tile pieces, but I'm going to have a few bits and pieces sticking out as joists and buttresses. Now, I'm thinking about doing it so that I can stick them in. I'll drop the microphone. I mean, what do you guys think? Let me get some participation here. Just feel free to type away while I pick up my microphone. Even if it's working, I don't know. I have to check the settings. Right, you are currently on the desk. So what I was thinking of doing is, for instance, let me just grab a tool, literally crafting live for the first time. I know it's a toothpick, right? Don't wet yourself with excitement, but ow. Why do I always do this to myself? Ow. Ow. Right, so what I'm going to do, hello, this is the piece from before, so what I'm going to do, when it's focused, is, hey, convenient. It's not the one I was looking for, but that'll work. So if I, for instance, just cut one of these down, just for demonstration purposes, and make a small hole right there. Okay, what you got there is going to represent like a beam. I'm thinking obviously I'd have longer sticks on it, but a couple of these along the edges of these tiles would allow me to have playable tiles that also double up as second story floors. Now, I don't know whether that's going to work or not, but I mean, I'll use one of my larger buildings. I know stone on top of post and pan isn't the idea, but for demonstration purposes, you see what I mean? So you've got your overhang, and it's sitting down. Oh God, I don't know if you can see that because I'm cack with the camera. No, don't rotate device. But you get the idea. You get the idea. So it's basically just sat on top. Now, I don't know if that works for you guys, but it certainly works for me. I mean, this piece here works out to be, must be 8 across. Yeah, so that's 8 inches across, this one. So that worked quite nicely. And hello, whoever has just joined. Don't think I didn't see you there. But yeah, so the idea. Oh yeah, so we got some very nice idea. Thank you very much, Lanveretlair. I will get that right one day. I'm sorry I can't pronounce anything. We've lost our third viewer. Sorry it wasn't interesting. But yeah, so it's not a bankrupt idea. Okay, Land, you got it. But yeah, so anyway, that's all hot glue XPS construction. Don't know who saw the start of it, but yeah, I think that's probably the way I'm going to go. Making some floor and joist beams. Don't know if you saw the roof of this one. It's actually got a considerable bow in the top. That was actually on purpose. just literally wanted it to be a little bit more than a flat boring roof. I mean, the tiles were actually not that bad of a deal to do. I mean, usually people moan about it because it is very laborious, but with this I found a bit of a shortcut. But anyway, it's that flooring stuff that I was talking about earlier. Still XPS, but very flexible. But I don't know if you can see. Yeah, focus, damn you. Oh God, why can I never get this thing to focus when I want it to? Professional filming, right? But yeah, you can just about see it there. There's a buttload of glue in between this joist that's holding the roof in. All of this stuff is not ornamental. This is actually to hold the thing together, because like I said, this XPS is like really thin and really flexible. So these joists hold it together. I've got these little nubs that help it to sit inside the roof properly. Yeah, I just whacked a load of glue in there and had to hold it for ages, because XPS is an insulator, and what is hot glue? It's hot. It cures when it dries, when it goes cold. So it just stayed hot forever. It's like literally 10 minutes of holding it. I nearly fell asleep. But yeah, so let me, oh, ow. That comment will come back up in a minute. I'll see it in a second. But yeah, so we've got the first bits of the floor sorted out. We've got our ideas for these peggy joist things sorted. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you off this one for a second. Hoardings with similar overhang, less modular. I still have to do second floor, so I might just use your idea. You go for it. You absolutely take the idea. None of this is like commission pieces, and I won't be getting paid ever because I just don't have the time. I work a full-time job. So you take away. That's the whole point of this channel, is that I started it because there was so much good content out there that got me started. I've been doing this for just over 2 years now as like a hobby, and there was so much good content out there helping me get started. I kind of feel like it was like a boost, it kick-started it. I mean, I've always made stuff and I've always been a fairly creative person, not to toot my own horn or anything weird, but this brought together a lot of different skills that I already had, and seeing other people's work made me want to do it more. And yeah, without their inspiration I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing to the level I am right now. So, you know, thanks where it's due. You know, the big guys, you got Scotty, of course, Hank and Fernell, like I've already mentioned, I love his work. Second floors are on my table. Okay, fair enough. Didn't quite get all of that. There we go. Too much in the pipe. But yeah, so yeah, it's like I said, Hank and Fernell, he helped me massively with like the 2.5D tile. So I was just like, that's a great idea. Why don't I do some of that action? And it's very freeing knowing that these people have already made the mistakes and they've already got their bits and bobs together, and all you have to do is just get involved. I'm not putting you up in mid-air for no reason. I am trying to set up a camera here, so bear with me because I am just dog awful at this. None of my stuff is set up for this sort of behaviour, so it's all set up for other sorts of filming. Oh god. Hey, there we go. So try and get a nice top down view. Now it's going to be very hard for me to see stuff. I'm only moving this here for a second because I need to get down here, plug my hot glue gun in. hot glue gun's like in a little holster under the desk, right next to my ever useful hairdryer, because I'm the most impatient crafter. It's an absolute horror show. Most people are just like, no, don't hairdry your miniatures while they're drying, you'll ruin the paint. And I'm like, calm it, it's fine. If I'm taking a paint job really seriously, of course, you know, I want it to cure properly, but I don't have the time for that a lot of the time. And most of my miniatures have come out fine, so it's probably a cardinal sin, but I don't care. I just blow dry my miniatures, especially my buildings, to get them finished at like 3 in the morning. I'm going to move that little guy. So, going back to the idea that I was talking about before, Gordon Bennett, got lights and everything everywhere. So let me bring you down one more notch. Now that we're, there we go. It's a bit closer. Sorry if you're expecting way more crafting than this, but my organisational skills are just pants. So what I'm going to do is try to make this as interesting as possible by keep talking and hoping that I'm not boring you to death. So let's get this little fella out of the way, because I don't need him here right now. Don't know if you can even see that properly. Yeah, it looks all right. So don't need you, get out the way. My craft room is just a craft explosion. So working on the premise that we had a minute ago, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to flip this over because I'm on the paint side of my mat at the moment, and there we go. Hey. Now I can see what sizes I'm at. So I think I've got like the centimetres down here, which is no good to me anyway, because I work everything in inches, good old fashioned way for all this sort of stuff, because I think it's scaled a lot of the time for inches. I had a tidy up earlier. That's my cardinal sin. I never tidy up because I can never find anything. It's usually organised chaos by literally just being chaos, but I know where I put everything. So, you know, what I'm planning to do is, if I get this lined up with the inch squares, how far apart should I put these support beams? Because I mean, you don't have them right in the corners, because that'd look a bit daft. I mean, would it? Maybe. They don't need to be massive. They only literally need to be like a quarter of an inch. So you've got like, I'm thinking that if I have them like that, so it would be, so 2, 4, hang on, I can't see what I'm doing now, 2, 4, and 6, I think that would be a good position for these. So yeah, again, 2, 4, 6. So you've got 2-inch intervals between these things. Turn around again. 2, 4, 6. Last time. 2, 4, 6. Now, sorry if this seems very haphazard, but that's because it's me and everything I do tends to be haphazard. But I'm trying to make a new idea here, so I'm hoping that this works and it looks alright. I mean, it worked, but whether it looks alright is another thing altogether. So what I'm going to do is, I'm thinking, to support this top building, I might even want a 3rd story. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these clean in half. Now you can see they're about 3 inches long. So I will cut them straight in the middle. So, bosh, like that. I just prefer these side cutters. They're cheap and cheerful, but they do cut sides, whereas this one's not so much. I tend to get a bit wonky. So if I make a hole, so I don't know if you can see this, but so it's 2, 4, 6 inch intervals. If I mark that there, it's about halfway between the two halves of the board, so I'm not going to measure that. I'm just going to eyeball it because, you know, who has the time for that sort of nonsense? Now, I don't know if you've ever found this, but trying to make holes with toothpicks in XPS foam is quite a ridiculous task because the wood grips the XPS and it ends up snagging. I don't know, we call him Bilbo Snaggins over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and find one of my sculpting tools, which seems to not even be in the kit anymore. That's frustrating. So what will I use? What will I use? I know what I'll use. I will grab a piece of copper wire that I'd usually use for making armatures, etc., etc., and I'll use that as a bradawl if I can find some. So bear with me a second while I have a look. Where's my stuff? Can't find my stuff. Why do I sing when I can't find my stuff? Oh, this is just silly. Note to self, never ever tidy up. Life is a constant chore. I can't seem to find any of that. Shaking everything around, looking for my things. Hey, I found my super glue. I'm looking for that. And we're back down to 2 viewers. Sorry, everybody. I'm sure no one wanted to turn up to see my desk. But that's what you got. Right, so yeah, I couldn't find my wire. But what I did find was this. Now, these are used for making like your cross stitch patterns and stuff a little bit more taut, so once you've knitted something you can pin it down to a board. These are my other halves and she kindly lent them to me for the pinning of XPS. So stick that in. Oh, that's a satisfying sound. And that should allow this to go in. Oh yeah, nice and smooth. So, oh, that's a good noise. But yeah, so I'll stop farting about with that. Yeah, so I mean, they will probably provide the support I need. I can't guarantee it. But what I am going to have to do is make some beams to go on the end. Some buttresses, what would you call them? Oh well, I've lost another viewer. I'm sorry, I'm not entertaining anymore. Never mind. Not everyone's got the time to watch me ramble on. But I will continue. So I'm thinking if I take this, just cut it down to that. If I take a 1/4 inch cube like that, it will do the job, but it may not have enough room for me to add any detail to it. So yeah, that might do actually. But what I'm going to do is just bevel the end of that. That's right there. Bevel the end of that slightly, just so it's not a boring square. So a slightly beveled edge. Do the same thing again. Make a small hole. Broaden it out a little bit. what I'll do is I'll put the blunt end in there. Oh, yeah, you don't want to do that. But these mistakes happen. It's crafting, and I'm not going to cry because I've got loads of this stuff. So one more, and I'll watch how far in I push it this time. So literally just slice at the end. Wrong tool. And then try not to push it all the way through. And that should look all right. I'm hoping so anyway. So I'll do a few more of those. But yeah, so in a minute, once the hot glue gun is completely heated up, might think about doing some other bits and pieces. But right now, this is all I'm going to be doing. Hello. The other half just got home, I think. Yeah, that we've got a very polite burglar who needs the toilet. So that's another one there. Now, I always forget when I'm doing this usually to actually hold on to the two different sides of what I'm snipping, because I end up shooting these things halfway across the room and I'm having to cut twice as many as I normally need. But not today, my friend. I am remembering. Now, just in case anybody's still watching and wondering, what about the rest of the building? What about making the actual walls, etc., etc.? I will be doing full tutorials on that over the coming weeks. I'm still trying to stick to one video a week. This week's been an absolute nightmare, so I'm doing a first live stream. I hope you're enjoying it. One solid viewer, keeping it real. But I will be doing full tutorials on how to do all the walls and stuff, so if you do feel like you need to tune out, don't worry, you're not losing out. You will get to see it. Yeah, so I think that that will work pretty well, but I'm not sure. I might need to think of something to do on the corners, but let's see how it looks with at least a building on top of it. So yeah, I think that'll work quite nicely as an add-on. The problem I can see is that it could be quite time-consuming and tedious to put all these in and out every time I need to do it. So I may leave them in until such time as I actually need to take them out, just in case I need a huge floor pad or something like that. But I'll make them and leave these in, but should I want to take them out, I will. So what I'll do is, rather than having that happen, because this is going to grip more on the longer bit, what I'll do is I'll get some Mod Podge and I'll Mod Podge that in there. I don't think I've got any Mod Podge that isn't covered, well, isn't filled with the black paint at the moment, but either way, bear with me and I'll grab some. Right, so the kitchen roll off the floor, because who doesn't have floor kitchen roll just knocking about? Normal people, that too, but I'm not normal. I'm a crafter. If I was normal, I'd be doing normal things. So this is my Black Magic Craft style Mod Podge and black paint. I use it to base all my shizness. So just got a big blob of that on the end into the hole. That should, if I sort of pump it in and out a little bit, get it down into the hole enough. Twist it round. take off any excess. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a spare piece of XPS and stick these in to dry, because otherwise I will have a desk covered in sticky black gooey thingies. So back down to one view, we did have 4 or 5 at one point. People are dipping in and out, as they do. People have got their hectic lives and I'm just talking trash, so don't blame them. But I'm hoping that this is at least entertaining in some way. Yep, it sounds like my other half's got to go back out for something she didn't want to do. Sorry about the pause there, I had to read a note. She's kind enough to not try to interrupt my live streams with real life. Oh, yeah, she's definitely not happy about having to go back out. She's a trooper, bless her. She puts up with our nonsense and she manages a very busy shop, so after a long day she didn't want to have to go back out, and I don't blame her. Probably hear her slamming doors and starting the car. It's not down to this, it's other stuff. So you can watch guilt-free. And at least I know now that she's going to be a little while and I can carry on building this without wondering when she's going to want some food and having to stop. So just in case you weren't watching, black Mod Podge paint mixture, gluing these buttress pieces into there so that I can concentrate on something else while they dry. I need to cut me some more of these, so I'm going to expedite my work stream just very quickly. So I'm going to need at least 9 more of these bad boys. In case you haven't realised, I'm obsessed with Africa by Toto, and not because of the memes, because it is one of those songs that has been with me since my early childhood. And I love it, and the fact that it's in all these memes you'd think would frustrate me, but no, it just means that I think about the song more. And much to my other half's dismay. But yeah, so just chamfer these down. I'm not even like concentrating on how big the chamfer is, because if you ever have the chance to go and see the shambles, I would really suggest you go do it, because it's well worth seeing. I mean, you might have to like dodge the Chinese tourists with their cameras and the students trying to get lunch, but it's worth seeing. But yeah, you'll notice that a lot of the timbers and the beams and stuff, they're not... Sorry, my dog's howling. I wonder what that was. Yeah, they're not cut to any precision at all. They're just kind of like cobbled together. And over the years, they've warped anyway. So if you're trying to get super precision in what you're building, points for effort, but don't worry. Number one, if you're playing in a fantasy setting like most people are, which is based in the medieval era, nothing was straight. Everything was organic and weird. And if you're building things for tabletop play, your players aren't going to go, oh my god, those buttresses aren't very straight. They're going to go, Jesus Christ, you built me a town to play in. Let's go and see how much free beer we can get from the local tavern before we have to fight some orcs. So yeah, I'm just going to mill these down to give them that chamfer on the edge, because I like the look of it, not because they need it by any stretch of the imagination. I'm sure that they'd look fine just square. If you guys have got any questions, guys and gals, sorry, feel free to ask them in the comments. I will try to answer them, because when comments come up, because I do all this on my phone, having only just done this for the first time today, I've discovered that, oddly enough, the comments don't stay on the screen. They kind of fade in and fade out, and then they fade back in again, and then they fade away again, and I'm not sure why or how, but they do. So if I've missed a comment or a question, don't lose heart, because next time someone makes a comment or question, it will pop back up and I will see it and I will answer it to the best of my abilities, because that's the kind of person I am. So, oh god, stop with that. I've been crafting DM for about, like I said, been crafting for about 2 years, because I've been in the hobby for about 2 years, but I've been a DM for about a year now, and unfortunately, unlike a lot of people, I don't play weekly because my players live all over the place. They have busy lives, even the ones that live in my hometown often don't have the time when I have the time, because work schedules take them away into other parts of the world. So getting everything organised this year has been an absolute pig. Everyone's turning 30 this year, myself included. Everybody's doing their thing. We've got a wedding to go to next month, so there's like stag parties, and everyone seems to be just going crazy this year, and it makes organising stuff hard. But when we get together, it makes it all the more worth it. And what I try to do is use the interim time to prep and build things, because when my players do get to the table, I want it to be memorable. A lot of people are not big fans of the game system that we play, but since it's the first time I ever got into role-playing games, and a friend of ours started it off, we're playing 4th edition. I know a lot of people will probably throw bricks at the screen because they hate 4th edition. There seems to be so much hate for that game system, and I don't really understand why. I think it's just because it's a little bit heavy on the rules, perhaps. But having not played 5th edition, I can't really speak from experience. But you know, I say each their own. I don't care what system you play, as long as you're having fun. But I am looking forward to trying ICRPG, because that system is getting a lot of reviews and a lot of rave reviews, and of course it's Hanker Infernail, or one of his many pseudonyms, and I've been watching his channel pretty much since it started, and like I said, he's a very entertaining guy and big inspiration to me. And I've never done any game funk stuff before, never had to plan a session. Sorry, dropped my microphone again. And it gave me the confidence when I was just starting out to really trust my decision making, and gave me the mental tools to put together a session, to start thinking about, like, not just making arbitrary decisions about where things are in terms of your arbitrary geometry and all that sort of thing. Thinking about scaling your monsters, just be super lethal, because your players are super inventive, or at least you'd hope they'd be. Do occasionally have to give them a nudge in the right direction, but yeah. So his work put a lot of steam behind what I do as a DM, and I love his slapdash style of crafting as well. He makes this world feel so real and tangible, and it all has a specific flavour, and it looks great, and there's no need to get super anal about the details. I just poked that too far through. But yeah, when you look closely at his stuff, it's not mega neat, but it's mega effective. So just like this, don't worry too much about making it super neat. Yeah, I did push that one too far through. Bugger, I'll put that one in the bin. I'll cut myself another one. I know, hey, I got spares. Whoop. But yeah, so don't let other people's precision or brilliance at crafting put you off. Just start crafting, make stuff you want to make, and your players will love it when it's on the table. I mean, some of the most fun nights that we've had have been where we don't actually have any terrain, on the table because the characters have taken us into a place where I hadn't prepped for. I should have prepped for, but didn't. And we ended up having lots of fun, and I was literally just winging it. Didn't have any monsters prepared, didn't have anything prepared really, and you know, I just threw down some of those tiles that I showed you before. You know, literally just like, okay, well, I need a room and a passageway. So I was like, okay, so here's your passageway. It comes down like this, you know, and you only see around the corner. So when they go to the room, you go, okay, well, you know, think to myself, how much health have they got left? You know, what kind of XP rewards can I look at? Okay, so if I make the room too big, it's going to go on forever if I put too many monsters in it. So I keep the rooms fairly small, and then you can just add on little bits, or you can go into new rooms, that kind of thing. And you know, we ended up having great fun just playing in a section that hadn't really been planned out. Did some work on how to use the battle system, because I mean, I was a bit rusty at one point on all the rules, and so I got my other half and one of our players together, and we just sat down and tried our best to play D&D combat without any plot. You know, I just threw some well thought out tactical moves at them, and you know, see how they handle it, see how I handle the rules, because there's a lot of rules to be thinking about when you're playing. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. What have I made 10? One for luck, I suppose. So, but yeah, so it was just a playthrough of a tactical encounter with no story to back it up, and it was actually really good fun. Made sense to get a handle on a lot of the area effect rules and stuff, and certainly sharpened me up. Got them getting to know their characters a little bit better and all that kind of thing. Right, so back to what we were doing. So we've got an 8x8 square. Okay, we've got to make the holes. So 1, 2, 3. There we go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And that should be all of them now. Yeah, so 1, 2, 3, 4 sides all done. It's amazing where the time goes when you're crafting. I mean, this is my first live stream, so obviously the first half is just pure cobblers. But once you're at the table, I think it's just amazing where the time goes. You know, sometimes you think to yourself, God, I wish I'd produced more. Wish I'd got more done. But it's just, I don't know, for me, it's not necessarily always about what you make. It's about taking the time to actually make things anyway, not like how quickly you can get them done. By the way, I just noticed that my my toothpick has got a bent end on it, so it's kind of ripping the foam a little bit. I'm going to swap it out for a new one. I'm going to twist it as I send it in. It tends to stop it snagging. That's a pro tip there. If you're ever sending this stuff into your XPS, give your toothpick a twist. Just stops it snagging quite so bad. A bit of the Bilbo snaggins. Where are my rulers? Ruler found. Thinking about my ruler. So there we go. Got my nice triangular ruler. My semi-sharp pencil. I don't want it too sharp, but I don't want it too blunt either, because it's got to break the surface of my foam. There we go. So what I'm going to do is, God, this isn't my ruler. This is my other ruler. That's a pain in the ass. So So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the lines on here as my guide for a 1-inch grid, just so that I've got some point of reference. And I think I'm going to do a stone side and a not stone side. So I've got the timber and the wood, just because I like having double-sided pieces, even though this is primarily going to be a floor for a second story. I could also use it as a floor for the first story, or I could just use it as another piece of square terrain to go down. Sorry about the rambling and the random doings, but it tends to work better when there's music, and there is no music at the moment, because of course if I put on music, YouTube slaps me. You guys can listen to what you like. And I never make suggestions for what other people should listen to, because I have no idea what your tastes in music are, and I would not want to even think about it. It's a very soft pencil. That's a ridiculously soft pencil. I may have to step it up to a pen. I'm gonna pop some microphone down. What am I gonna flip it to? I'll put it over there. Alright, bear with me a minute. Looking for stuff. I can never find my stuff. Where the fuck is all my stuff? Hey, I found my other ruler. I've got a drawer dedicated entirely to pens, and I can never find one because I think my other half comes in here, takes my damn pens, and then loses them immediately. So many drawers, so many pens go missing. I wonder if I've got any in my DMs box. So I don't know if you have a DMs box like this, but just dice stuff, timers. Big fan of the timers. Don't know if you guys and girls ever use timers, but I must admit there are a lot of times when I leave my timers, because otherwise it just gets all well out of hand. Everyone just talks, negotiating forever. So timer, drop it on the table, keeps people focused. Just reminds them that this thing doesn't go on forever. Unlike this stream, which seems to never end. I'm sure you people are bored of it by now. But I've still got one viewer going strong. Yes! I'll try and make this worthwhile. So I couldn't find my pen, but I did find some other pencils. Oh, God, why isn't a H being on? I'll just use a H. You know, one of those things that you don't know what you've got till you can't find it. I think I should probably rewrite that song, but I'm not going to mention the song in case even mentioning the song gives me some kind of infringement, because I don't know what their rules are and I just can't be bothered to read them. But yeah, so with this XPS foam, this stuff is it's weird because it's a very tough, great compressive strength, but weirdly enough it's quite hard to get clean patterns in it because it is so tough, and the exterior has this hard almost shell on it. It's probably the way they make it, but you can lead to a lot of crispy cracks and stuff, but I don't really care because I'm doing like a stone floor. But I don't know if you can actually see that. See all these like little crispy cracks and stuff, the way it doesn't give you a nice clean edge. Be a bit of a pain in the ass. That's why I was looking for my pen, because it does give a better finish, but I will have to remember that for next time. What I'm going to do, I'm going to send the pencil down it and try and get a little bit more of the actual wood of the pencil into those grooves, just to widen them out a little bit. So I don't know if you can see, but I'm actually sending the pencil down like that. You probably can't even hear me, my mic's all the way over here. God damn! I'm bad at live streams, I apologise. But yeah, so by sending the pencil down like that, it's using the wood of the pencil to just widen those gaps a little bit. And this is something that I do quite a lot on my wood as well as my stone. But if you guys, like I said, guys and girls, have any questions, feel free to ask, and I will try my best to answer them by keeping an eye on the screen. But I don't know how these message board things work. I'll probably go back through and see everyone else's comments at some point and try to address them in future videos. If you do have any questions you want to ask me, feel free to either leave it in the comments, or you can head over to my Facebook page, which is just the Fantasy Forge. You can't miss it. It's just my ugly mug, the same logo as on the YouTube channel. I think like the name for it is like the Fantasy Forge 1 or something. But you can leave me a message on there, or what have you. But I always try and reply to those as soon as I see them, and I'm pretty active on several of the Facebook groups. You may have seen me commenting and stuff on other people's work. Now, what I'm doing here is I'm just sort of squeezing it in a little bit, because you'll find that when you start scoring into XPS, it has a tendency to sort of go from like flat, tends to like dome up a little bit. So I tend to want to just bring it down flat again. I don't know if you can just about, yeah, you can just about see it. There is a beveling on those edges now. It lends them to look a little bit more like a slab than just like a square. But the next best thing to having real stone is having XPS that has been tinfoil balled. Oh yeah. Now I actually, here it is. I actually have my extra strong, sorry about the noise everyone, sorry. I have my extra strong tinfoil here. You don't want to use standard tinfoil, because I find that there's just not enough oomph to it. It just doesn't have enough texture. You can't get enough data off of it. It just kind of like smushes into a round. It's like, so what? I don't care. So as you can see, that's been squodged down. That's the technical term as well, squodged. Right. It's pretty irregular, but you'll find there's usually a side that you tend to prefer. But literally, I'll go across it sort of in a non-repeating pattern, but try and get a bit of coverage, and then rotate it and have another go. And because this bit has like a huge knobble on it, so it's doing loads more damage to the surface, so you don't want to go mad with it. And you'll find that there'll be like another side that's quite soft and quite sort of rounded. And you can put a bit more extra detail in it if you like and knock back some of the lumps, but that it tends to be a better side for getting general texture. And then you want the more extreme side for doing like slightly deeper crags and such. I mean, one thing that I always try to do is try to remember these things have edges, and get those edges, because otherwise your slabs are going to look weird, and if these bits on the edges aren't actually textured in, what can happen is they just chip off. So like for instance, right, you see like this bit's perfectly square. I usually film with my phone and watch live stream on my computer screen. I didn't even know that I can do that. I mean, I've got like, I don't even know, hang on a second, I'll rotate you. So I've actually got like my monitor on like a rotating arm thing, so that I can like craft and like move it around and get it out of my face when I don't want to see it. And I've got like a wireless mouse and stuff, but I mean this computer isn't set up for filming. I haven't got a camera. I have to do everything with my phone because, you know, I'm a peasant. I am a peasant of the modern world and I cannot afford such things. But you know, that's how it goes. If my channel gets any traction, I mean, I've got nearly 100 people. I'm very grateful to them. Massive spike recently, thanks to my boy Bill Allen. Give a big shout out to Bill. Love him. Give me a bit of exposure, a bit of feedback, and I tried to make the most of those. Releasing stuff weekly, nice short vids, keeping it simple. So Bill Allen, big respect to him. He's doing like pink foam tutorials, doing some like big bits and pieces. Don't know, you've probably seen him on the group, but he's got his own channel as well. So like, you should check that out. Sorry, I missed that comment again because I'm so slow and bad at it. But yeah, I'll try and keep my eye on that. I don't know, I think I've moved what I was doing. So, but what I am going to do, I'm going to bring this camera down one more notch. It'll climb up fast. Yeah. Thank you very much. And yeah, glad you know Bill's work, because he is a really good guy, and he's been a massive fan of my channel. And one of the reasons that I still bother to do it is because of the support that he sends over. And you can never have too much love. He keeps it positive, keeps it constructive, and you can't ask for more than that. And yeah, so got a big boost recently by following his advice, and from his shout out, doubled my subscriber count. So, you know, really pleased with that, and very, very grateful. And loving to see how his new tutorials coming along with those big bits of terrain. Yesterday doing the paint stuff. I mean, I watched that while I was waiting for takeout food. So, you know, they're not the shortest videos, but they are packed with interesting stuff. If you're a new crafter, if you're trying out new paint styles, it's always worth looking at. That's what I was going to say. I was going to be doing a new tutorial. Yeah, cool. Can't wait to see it. I'll keep my eye out for that. But yeah, so what I was saying was, these bits and pieces, when they're square, they tend to like catch really easy, and like, I don't know if you can see that. I'll try and get some information there, but I don't think you're going to see it. But you see what I mean? Just like brush it and it just kind of rips, and like, crap, you don't want that. So by beveling these edges back in and rock texturing them, what you're actually doing is you're making them more compact, and it kind of makes them bulletproof, you know. I mean, if you playing with like kids and stuff, I mean, one way to make sure that you could keep this stuff a lot harder is very, very carefully you can apply heat, because what it does, it kind of semi melts the exterior. It can lead to some good effects, but I mean, I would never suggest people do it inside their home. You'd probably want to try it in like a well ventilated area with a heat gun, texture your piece first, then hit it up with some heat. What it can do is it sort of seals it, and it can lead to some very interesting patterns and texture, and but also you're almost playing with fire, because it can melt your projects, and depending on which XPS you've got, it may well give off some kind of chemical. So I always say safety first, ventilated area, don't be a moron, stuff catches on fire, put it out. Safety before fun. Don't want you guys going out and burning your house down and getting chronic burns from, oh, this guy told me to set fire to myself. That's not what I'm about. I'm about having great fun, crafting cool stuff. If you think it's dangerous, probably is, don't do it. So that has been pretty well textured now. Like I said, yeah, I can still see some lines from the production stuff. But you know, I'm not particularly fussed about that. No one else will notice, and once this is black Mod Podged up, it will look great. Now on the other side, what I will be doing eventually is some wood style. Okay, but I did get a request on Facebook earlier to talk about, hang on, I'm gonna just, hi. I did get a request earlier to talk about the thatching style that I did on this. I'm not going to forget about that. I'm going to do it now because it's coming up to an hour and a half, and I want to keep this stream a sensible size, so I'm probably going to end up cutting it short at an hour and a half. But I am going to talk about that first, because I don't want to leave it hanging. I'm awful with names, absolutely goddamn awful with names, and I cannot remember what the young lady's name was. So for that I apologise in advance. I will probably burn in hell if there is ever such a place. But my strong point is not name remembering, my strong point is making stuff, so I try to focus on that. But I also like to keep promises. So pink foam, milled down. This bit is just an offcut from when I was making the other piece. So I mean, this is just like, it's just a wall panel basically that hasn't been milled down properly. I tried to do the roof and I cocked it up. Honest to God, I just messed it up completely. But usually I'd suggest, if you are going to do what I'm doing here, you will need a dust mask, and you want to work in a well ventilated area. I can't find my dust mask because I tied it up, and I'm not wasting any more time. But also I am going to try to not breathe this crap in, because last time I did it without a mask I was wheezing for like a week. I'm still alive, but it wasn't fun. So what you want to do is get yourself a pack of wire brushes. Now I favour the ones that kind of look like the world's most dangerous toothbrush. So these are great for adding texture. They come in a pack of 3 usually. What they do here anyway. And there's like a plastic one, there's a brass one, and there's a steel one. And I don't know, it feels like the brass one's the one for me. The steel one tends to feel a bit scratchy, weirdly enough. I have the same one. Good. Standard tool. Just don't use it to brush your teeth. I mean, no, I don't fancy that myself. I've got normal people gums. I don't have like giraffe gums. Have you seen like what they eat? They have like spikes on bigger than that, and they're just like, yeah, I'll just stick my face in there and eat this giant spiky tree. Get some salad. Why evolve this long old neck? You could have just had some floor salad. But yeah, so back to some form of constructive nonsense. With this, it's got these edging details in, and I grew up in a little village, and there was a lot of old cottages, that kind of thing. And I used to love looking at the thatched roofs. We used to have a thatcher in the village, traditional thatcher, brilliant watching him work. but I wanted to replicate that without having to go to the extreme of actually doing some kind of miniature thatching, because that is nonsense. You find usually that they've got these lateral bits going across that hold in all that straw and thatch. Then you've got like little downward pieces that are sort of like U-shaped pieces of like some kind of rough and tough, I don't know, reed or something. They make them into like a U shape and then like bash them through the other straw, and it kind of pins everything down. So I've tried to replicate that, but purely this is all just pencil detail over the top of like my dry brush, over the top of my rough brush. Okay. On this one, I went a bit silly and I sort of radiated out from the middle. That's not how thatching works. But it was like 2 a.m. at that point, and I'd kind of forgotten what thatching looked like. But I really do like the way that this sort of eats out of the edges, and it gives you that sort of end of the stalk look. I mean, this bit's not very well beveled at all because I was rushing, but it does give you that good end of the stalk look as well. So that was worked out exactly how I wanted. But I'll show you. I'll stop talking crap. I'm gonna bevel you. God, my singing's awful today. So I'm just gonna, first off, take off the corners. You don't want to see my face, you want to see what I'm doing, don't you? People of the world unite to tell me that I'm stupid for filming myself. Thank you very much. I'm glad you think it looks natural. That's what I'm going for. Always a problem trying to achieve something, not knowing quite what you're going to do. But ideas, the foundation of greatness, and you've got to follow those ideas. So thinking that this is going to be part of a roof, you know, assuming that there's going to be like a second piece coming on here to join it, depending how you're going to do it, what I sometimes do is I get like 2 panels, and then I get like a third piece, and just butt it into the middle, and then put like a capping piece over the top. Sometimes I butt them up like that, so you've got a slight asymmetry in the roof. Just add a little bit of character, but you'll still need to put a capping piece over the top. Hey, thanks for stopping by. Great to see you. Glad you enjoyed the crafting. So yeah, beveled those corners just to take off the square edging. Then we're just going to like bevel it up, but you don't need to do all the corners. This is a blunt knife. Where is my sharp knife? Oh, I've got a knife, and I've got a butt ton of blades here. That one's old. That one's new. It went in my hand. It's new. I can confirm that. So brand new sharp blade always helps. It gets no snagging. Ah, oh, that's better. Okay, so what we're going to do is just bevel that off in such a way that it looks a little bit natural. But what you want to do is leave this chunky edge along the bottom. You don't want to take all that off, because otherwise what you do is you leave yourself no room for that sort of end of stalk bit of the build. And to me, that's where a lot of the character and a lot of the detail sits. So what I do is I do like one semi-useful cut into this to bevel it, to get like my first angle. I'll do that on all the sides that I'm going to be beveling. I tend to do that at like a, I don't know, like whatever the 45-degree angle, like across the square. So not a great way to make it look real, but it is a great way to get the curve started. Oh, that was satisfying. So you can see it starting to look a little bit like a beveled surface. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch up to a bigger, flatter knife, because I need the flex. Okay, so I should have got this in the first place. It's just cheap and cheerful Stanley snap-off blade, but I've oddly enough got an Alpha knife blade in there. Some free shiznit from my other half. I'm going to use that length to allow me to bevel big flat lengths and sort of gradient it off a little bit. So it looks less sort of boxy. And these are like wafer thin. I mean, there's like almost nothing there, but it just tapers it in. Makes it look a little bit more natural. So then I just put a little bit more information on those corners. Round off any sort of square edges, and that is just about as much information as I put on there last time. So you might be wondering why I keep saying information and data. Like I tend to refer to things like that. The eye picks up detail and information from what it sees, and I tend to refer to that as data and information, visual information sometimes. It's a bit confusing, I'm sorry. Delicious cola. So for this one, you're obviously going to want to start at the top, in the centre, and move right through down to the front. Oh, it said I got low battery. Whoa. Let me just plug this in. Only mild collateral chaos. Knocked one thing over. Plugging in the phone. A little bit scat man then. Right, so back to what I was saying. So you're going to want to start at the top and work your way down. And just get you centered there. It's going to start there and work its way down. Sorry about the noise. But then from the edges of about here, that way, I'm going to bevel it that way. Okay, so now don't be afraid to push quite firmly, because you'll create more marks, less dust. Then from about here, what I'm going to do is get one line straight from there to the corner, and then taper that off, and then I'm going to go from there just straight out. Okay. So already we've got quite a good texture there. Move that light up a bit so you can see it. Okay, so I'm just going to make sure I get a little bit of information on this end. You see all those rough angles have all gone. You will find you get a few wisps and bits and bobs, but don't worry about it too much. All adds to the look. So you can see that's already starting to look a lot. If you can see it, look like thatch. I'm currently down to 0 live viewers, but that is because I did say I was going to stay for an hour and a half, and it's a little over that now, so I'm going to call it quits once I've just finished texturing this. And there you have it. That's a basic thatch. And then over the top, like I was saying, just draw in these sort of retainers. And it's important that you draw these on after you texture, because otherwise what will happen is your brush will catch that detail and it'll snag it off. And you don't want that. So putting in those little tie-ins. It doesn't have to be neat, it's rustic. And there you have it. Now, like I said, I tried to create as least dust as possible. I would recommend you use dust mask because that mess is nasty. Okay, so I'd like to thank everybody who tuned in. I am going to tune out. Hopefully this will provide some information for everybody to get themselves started. If you want to copy some of this, I will be doing full tutorials, so don't worry. And until next time, I'll say peace out, adios, goodbye. How the hell do I stop this thing?